next, we look at an issue that has come up in recent times about the public wage bill. Now, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission is set to review this wage bill and actually produce a report within 3 months. Of course, one of the issues that they will be looking closely at is the disparity in public service allowances, where there's a lot of people at the top earning large amounts and maybe smaller amounts towards the bottom. That's one of the things that will be looked at. Also, unchecked spending by counties with something that will raise the public wage bill massively. This is also going to be looked at by the Commission, where you have a situation where counties may be spending on things that they're not even sure that should be taken care of by the national government. And right now, the current wage bill is 450 billion Kenya shillings. This is actually 50% of all the revenue that is collected by government, and yet the recommended amount is 35%. It's also 12% of the GDP, which the recommended amount is actually around 7%. So there is definitely a huge public wage bill problem, and of course this could lead to things like inflation, which without a doubt will affect the common one and cheap. So to discuss this problem further, let's go to Ben Kitili, who has someone to shed some more light on this issue.
Indeed, Nancy. Let's bring in the chair of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, Sara Serem. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Ben.
Before we go to the details of this, almost 12 months ago, the president, in his maiden speech to Parliament, he did single out the public wage bill, which was ballooning, saying
Yes.
that is something that needs to be cut down. Almost 12 months on. What can you report to Kenyans?
Ben, 12 months ago, we did sound an alarm on the facts of the matter on concerning the wage bill, that at that point it was unsustainable. And what were we looking at? The wage bill at that point stood at 458 billion, which literally translated to 12.1% of the GDP. What is the situation currently? We've moved, and naturally it's expected that with the devolution, definitely that was bound to move up. And we are talking of 2013-2014 budget, we are at 500 billion. So the 12.1% is moved to close to 13% currently. And if you remember what we shared as SRC, for a wage bill to be sustainable, then it should be below 7% of the GDP.
Speaking of counties, the Institute for Public Accountants of Kenya has said that spending by the new county governments may lead to more ballooning of the wage bill, as it were. So, what are you doing to be able to counter this with the new county governments, with some expenditure that like salaries and building of county government offices? What will you do to be able to counter this?
Spending definitely without a commensurate source of revenue is unsustainable for any business, even from a family unit. Our concern is the remuneration aspect of it, because that's where we fall in. Our mandate is focusing on the remuneration. When it comes to spending on other areas, it is upon other bodies as well to come in and look at the sustainability of the current expenditure, both within the national and the county government. I think of interest for us is, whereas we did move into set salaries, and literally talking of modest salaries in relation to the economy of this country, why our main concern is the numbers, the establishment at the county level, because that in itself raises the wage bill, because the wage bill is made up of numbers and the values. So whereas you will manage the value, how about the numbers? Because that's also translating into huge wage bill. It's definitely unsustainable.
Now, your commission is planning to review the allowances of civil servants. There are around 700,000 civil servants in Kenya, in like 500 different job categories. Now, how will you do this and make sure that there is parity? Like, Kenyans need better services, so those people who can give better service need to be paid. How will you balance this and harmonize the wage bill?
Our focus as a mandate is to set and to review. While looking at that, there are principles for consideration. One of it is the sustainability. And that is almost a natural focus, because unless you have what you want to consume, then literally it means you have to get other resources to consume. What we did with state offices positions, because we realized one of the greatest expenditure was actually within the allowances, that we set a gross package, and out of that gross package, 40% was accounting for allowances. Call it anything, because we realized within the public sector there was an allowance literally for everything. And this is the focus we are getting into as we get also into the other public officers' positions, coming up with a gross salary that will harmonize both the relativity within the highest position and the lowest, and making sure that the allowances also account for a certain percent of the basic salary. Because within the public sector currently, there are areas that draw more allowances than even the basic salary.
Yes,
And knowing that basic salary is a compensation for the work done, the focus should be more on the salary as opposed to the allowances.
Madam Chair, lastly, before we let you go, very quickly, on Twitter, George Kisundi is asking, every administration seems to come with additional staff, so what can your commission do to cap this peculiar phenomenon?
At this point in time, there is ministerial body that has been set to look at the modest structure within the county government, because truly, unless that is harmonized, it's going to be something totally unsustainable.
Yes,
we are already at that point of unsustainability, and unless something is done to focus on the numbers, then it's going to be a huge thing for us. But very quickly, I think it's important for us to mention that we are also coming up with a wage bill conference. This is scheduled to kick off on 7th of March, basically to bring everybody on board to ensure that this is an agenda driven by the entire Kenyan system. It's a national interest. It's not an SRC agenda anymore. We are bringing it to a higher notch, so that we all participate in ensuring that we manage the wage bill of the public sector.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you.